Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host Eric Asher on this Chamber of Commerce Day here in New Orleans. Beautiful, crisp winter day for us. Unlike again some of the nasty, kind of humid, rainy, nasty days that we get during the winter. This is a beautiful day, and of course we got a lot of great sports talk for you over the next hour. Talking about all the home teams: Saints, LSU, Tulane, Pelicans. Also, we'll touch on college basketball. We'll talk about the Sean Payton saga. All that coming up. One of the best we have in the city. Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports joins us on the program. Garland, how are you, my friend?
Well, you say it looks beautiful sun-wise,
right?
But Dillard is starting a baseball team this year.
Right.
My photog is out there right now, and that's out by the lakefront.
It's a little chilly.
He's freezing his buns off out there at the lakefront right now, doing a story on Dillard. Man, I mean, being at the lakefront, it's always like 10 degrees colder.
Yes.
On today, he's like, man, it is cold out at Barrow Field, which is right next to Suno.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is beautiful, but try to stay inside if you can, especially baseball, man. Baseball should not be played in January, February, but it starts tomorrow.
I agree.
LSU, everybody starts practice tomorrow, so it's here.
And of course, the cold. You're out there on St. Charles Avenue jogging early in the morning. So how chilly is it for you, right?
So I full discretion, the last 3 days I've been inside.
Right.
Like I can't do it every day because I got the tights on, I got the ski hat, I got the ski gloves, but it's been like 41, 43 in the morning, so I've been on the treadmill the last 3 days. Maybe, I think Sunday it's going to warm up, Saturday, Sunday, so I'll be back on the streetcar line this weekend.
There you go. A lot of people see you out there doing that. Let's start with the Saints, and we'll start with, again, let's start with the coaching staff, who's coming, who's going, who may be coming, who may be going. The Falcons have interviewed Ryan Nielsen. He's also interviewed with Minnesota. Chris Richard, the other co-defensive coordinator, has interviewed with the Panthers and now Miami. They have decided, and we'll get into that in a second, to be able to keep really the offense status quo, with the exception of Rauscher, who was relieved of his duties last week. And of course, the defense right now, as far as coaching staff, is intact, unless one of these two move on, and we expect at least one, maybe both, to move on. Are you surprised this team did have more changes on the coaching staff and have kind of just said, directly or indirectly, that this is on the players? We think the coaching staff was fine last year, from injuries to players not being able to playing up to their ability. That was the issue last year, not our coaching staff.
Yeah. One thing to keep an eye on with the OC, Carmichael, that Triplett tweeted that he was coming back.
Right.
but I'm hearing that they might bring someone else in,
right?
And it might not mean Carmichael's calling the plays next year. Like that's something that Triple H said he was coming back. He didn't say per se that he was going to be calling the plays. So that is something you're going to watch. Who they hire to fill in for Rauscher.
Right.
Maybe it's another guy. You got the wide receivers coach can maybe start getting in on that. So that's something to watch to see who that new coach is and what happens. Right. And another intriguing thing is I know we're going to get into Coach Payton. But if Payton does get one of these jobs, does he take Carmichael with him? Because Carmichael laid out the game plan. Now, Sean Payton called the plays, and it worked together very well. Payton can maybe try to take some of these guys away.
Well, I think it's going to happen.
So that's one that, he has a great relationship with Pete Carmichael. So that's another one to watch. But getting back to your main question, I feel like the Saints, they just like to keep everything
continuity, right?
Keep talking about continuity. It's the same guys. Mickey Loomis has been there forever. They love Dennis Allen. That's why I just couldn't grasp. I know they could do it with Stan Van Gundy with the Pelicans, like run him out after 1 year. I just didn't. I saw no path where they're going to run one of their guys that's been there forever in two different times. Run him out after one season. I knew they would give him another season. I just didn't see that happen. But they love that continuity. They got everybody in the backroom staff, having Ireland back there, Loomis back there, Kai Harley. They like to keep everything as going with the people they know. Now, they got to move some guys out. But it's smart at least what they say, that this is how it's going to go. But you know what? They are about probably 3 or 4 players away from, it's the NFC South. Anything can happen.
Yes.
Who are you going to tell me right now who the favorite is to win the NFC South next year?
There's a toss-up.
I don't even know the quarterback.
They're all bad.
The only quarterback I know that's definitely might be the starter out of these 4 teams next year is Desmond Ridder, maybe with the Falcons. I don't know who the starting quarterback is for the Panthers. I don't know who it's going to be for the Bucs. I don't know if Andy Dalton's going to be back. It's going to be now. Andy Dalton might be back in a backup role. You can get him on the cheap again, but that's the one you got to figure out. But if they can get something with Peyton, and maybe get some draft picks back in, then things can change around. Because I think the defense is really strong. They should change some things on offense. Maybe get rid of Andres Pete on the line.
I do think you need to try to keep Nielsen, because, again, what he's done with the defensive line, even though, again, there was a drop-off, a lot of that had to do, again, with just the attrition of losing really good players in the middle of the line and the inability to stop the run. And that's no disrespect to Richard, who's been a defensive coordinator in the past. But this is an up-and-coming coach. You have to do something to protect him. I'm surprised they haven't done that. I have suggested that Allen give up the play-calling duties on Sunday, on game day, and be kind of oversee the entire team as a head coach with, again, veto power, which all head coaches have, and allow, again, Nielsen to lay the game plan out and call the plays, and that would at least protect him from being poached by Minnesota, Atlanta, or, again, maybe Peyton if he gets a job elsewhere. To your point about Carmichael, I had said the same thing when this broke last week on the program, that there's no way I think that they can go into the season and sell this to season ticket holders and the fans that he's going to be the guy calling the plays again. Whether it's internally or externally, they've got to do something, a change there. Let him lay the game plan out, but on game day, they got to get a better play caller.
Yeah, and the name escaped me. It's Ronald Curry.
Yeah,
who's
the quarterback coach.
Yeah. He's I think he's a passing game coordinator also. Right. So, and I think he's going to be one of the coaches at the Senior Bowl. That's possibly one that maybe can get in the mix. I'm really intrigued to see, even when you talk about Nielsen, he can definitely get poached by one of these other teams, get poached by Peyton. He was on his way to being the DC at LSU, and then Coach Peyton and then pulled a power move, gave him more money, gave him an extra title, and he stayed in New Orleans. So, though you look back at it now, Peyton did him a favor because Coach O and them all got run out the door. So maybe Nielsen could have been the one that helped. I don't know. The defense was pretty bad, so maybe I wouldn't have worked, but at least saved them on that one. So there's a lot of moving. I'm really intrigued to see how all these head coaching searches go.
Right.
We need some dominoes to fall.
Right. Well, one just fell. Frank Reich has been named the Panthers head coach. Okay, so again, that means Peyton is out on that one.
I didn't feel like that was going to be
me
one.
Me neither. I didn't either.
The ones that are going to be. It's going to intrigue me is is D'Amico Ryans played for the Texans. You thought he was a favorite there.
Right.
Well, now it comes out one of the beat writers for the Broncos said that D'Amico Ryans is the favorite now for the Denver Broncos. Well, he can only take one job, so you would think that those are the ones I've always zeroed in. I didn't buy Arizona, even though some of the betting sites had him up there with Brian Flores. I always thought if he was going to go, it was going to be either Denver or Houston. The problem is you're getting mixed messages from Denver because they said they want a CEO-type coach, one who's been around. D'Amico Ryans is a young up-and-comer. It just makes way more sense for him to go to Houston. And then Denver, they're the ones that can pay $20 to $25 million because, I mean, it's a Walmart area.
Right. And they're desperate for, again, a head coach who is an offensive coach who can deal with quarterbacks with the situation, obviously, again, with Russell Wilson and his play last year. We'll get into Peyton in just a few more minutes, but I want to go back to what you think happens with this coaching staff. Do you anticipate, again, other than the offensive coordinator position, any other changes outside of if, again, Peyton gets a job and poaches coaches, or one of these two co-DCs ends up elsewhere?
Yeah. I don't know if I see Dennis Allen giving up that DC title.
Right. I don't either.
Yeah.
So how do you hold on to? Well, they're going to want to be their own guys.
All right.
If they get a chance, they're going to move on then.
Yeah. No. This Nielsen. You know what you could do is once they finally figure this out, who's gone, who's staying, you could definitely elevate one of these guys. But Nielsen's pretty high up there already.
Right.
Wasn't
he? Is he like a assistant head coach or something?
Yeah. He got that title when Peyton tried to keep him the first time around.
Right.
So this next week or so, I mean, the Senior Bowl is coming next week.
Right. And you got to have your staff intact then at that point.
What I've been talking to Sean Fazan, one of my coworkers at Fox 8, is does Peyton get one of these jobs by the weekend, and does he go to Mobile? I mean, then it's going to be a feeding frenzy.
Right.
I mean, we're all going to be, following him all over the place. He's going to be trying to lay out interviews and everything. We got to now. Mickey Loomis is not going to the Senior Bowl. We found that out. Ireland's going. He's going to be the one that's going to talk to the media when we get there.
What about protecting him and protecting Kai Harley and protecting Michael Parrington in case Peyton does get a job? I have not heard anything of that nature coming out of Saints camp, other than that they like their guys and they're going to try to protect them.
I mean, Peyton brought in Ireland,
right?
And Ryan Pace is still out there also.
Right.
The Bears, a former Bears GM, they were really close. So those are like two guys that Peyton could bring with him, or he's going to pick either or. I think those are the main guys, because if he goes to the Broncos, their GM right now is like hanging on by like a string, and the last name is actually Peyton also. It's spelled different, but he's pronounced Peyton. But he was a GM from the former owner. So everything that I've read and heard, he's on thin ice. So Peyton, I guarantee, is like, listen, if I come in, I'm either bringing Pace with me, I'm bringing Jeff Ireland with me, I'm bringing this guy. It's going to get really contentious, like when they finally agree. I wonder what kind of wording is going to be in this contract, so Mickey can make sure that they're not jacking every single player, coach, and possible guys behind the scenes.
Right. And is that more money, a title, more responsibility? Because we haven't heard any of that, and I would have expected by now, again, that maybe Ireland would have been named general manager, or again, Kyle Harley would have gotten a better title, maybe more money. Parrington, the same thing. We haven't heard any of that in terms of protection. Let's get into Peyton now and the possibilities. You've mentioned a couple here. Some people believe that if he doesn't coach this year, that the Saints lose the leverage next year. I'm not one of those, okay? Because we have no idea what openings will be next year. The Chargers could be open next year. The Rams could be open next year. The Bears could be open next year. This could be a situation where he's looking at maybe 3 or 4 franchises that he covets, and of course there could be a bidding war as well. Obviously, he's tried to manipulate the situation with this Colin Cowherd interview last week, but it was good to see through Jeff Duncan, again, the information coming out there going after a Gruden deal. 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s in cash. What do you think happens in terms of compensation and his possible landing spot this year? And is there a difference between this year and next year in terms of Saints leverage? Because I don't buy it.
With Peyton, and I'm not going to name the former Saints player, but I was at the SEC Championships in Atlanta. He told me the one thing Peyton loves more than anything is he loves Peyton.
Right, he does.
He loves that all this attention. He loves the attention. And this is before all this storm started. This was early December when in Atlanta when LSU was playing Georgia. He was like, man, Sean Payton loves him some Sean Payton. He wants to be out there. And he's going on all the shows. He's talking all up. He's on his daughter's podcast. He's on Colin Cowherd every week. He's going to be on these pregame shows. You know, we have on Sunday. You know, they got Fox NFL Kickoff. And you got NFL Sunday. So I guarantee he's going to get asked a bunch of questions from Peter Schrager and all those guys. He was on that podcast. He is loving life right now. I know he says that you can tell he has the itch to come back because, you know, he talks about how great it is. You know, he's with Skylene. They got a place in Manhattan Beach. He's walking his dog. He's riding his bike. He's playing golf. I mean, you can only do that so long. I mean, you can go up to Idaho where he's got a winter home now. He's got another summer home in Alice Beach. You can only do that so often before you don't get that itch back. And he gets a lot of that time in the off season. I mean, he would go to Idaho for like a month, you know, in June because obviously, I mean, being here in June is like just insane.
It's oppressive.
It's oppressive. You're dealing with hurricanes and heat. So he is trying to manipulate this situation. And I don't know if it's going to backfire. But he's definitely, I feel like some of these reports that are coming out, he's the one dictating. The Diana Ricci tweet about you know, there's a team getting their ducks in a row. Yeah. Diana Ricci hasn't reported on the Saints since Sean Payton left. So you can tell where.
It's coming out of his camp.
Yeah. A lot of these stories are coming out are Sean giving them.
He's trying to manipulate
everything. He's playing every side right now. It's getting dangerous here because I know he's close with Mickey. And you talk about Jeff Duncan, he wrote a story about how Mickey's an accomplished poker player. This is poker at its finest here. You know, Sean Payton's bluffing right now, and Mickey can see it all happening.
What do you anticipate happening?
If it's not Denver, it's not happening. I mean, I still think D'Amico Ryans makes way too much sense with Houston right now. I mean, that's where he's from. He knows the McNair family. The difference would be how much more money are the Broncos going to give. I thought the Broncos want a proven winner, and D'Amico, it's going to take a little more time. I think Sean Payton can go into Denver if he's got Russell Wilson. You know, everybody's bagging on Russell. This is perfect. They got a great defense. The Broncos got a great defense. They just got to figure out an offense, and that's where Sean comes in. So if it's either one of two things: back with Fox Sports or with Denver are my thoughts.
Doesn't look like the Los Angeles Chargers are going to fire their coach this year.
No, because they're, you know, everybody says, like, you got to lay it out here. Okay, all these owners are billionaires. But there's a difference between Walton money, which is worth $60 billion. David Tepper, who's a hedge fund manager, he's worth $16 billion. Michael Bidwell is on the cheaper side of the owners because this is his whole thing. Like, it's just the team. He's like pinching pennies here and there, make money. The Spanos family in LA is the same way. They're pinching those pennies, trying to make $1 here and there because this is all they got. And I thought it made sense that Brandon Staley would get fired, but then I've read a lot into it. They usually will try to get coaches on the cheap, you know, like a Staley, and that's when I figured out, oh my gosh, they're going to keep this guy because they're not paying him like, you know, what Peyton wants to get paid.
Here's the difference, though. Okay, it's kind of an arms race in Los Angeles now, right? Okay, you've got the Dodgers and the Lakers. No matter what, again, they're going to be front and center. They could take or leave the NFL. The Rams have established themselves because they got a Super Bowl championship. But again, this year with the losing, the people in Los Angeles won't stick around for that long. And then of course you got the Kings and the Clippers that are out there. Everybody's fighting for that sports dollar. If you're the Chargers, you're trying to separate yourself from the Rams. How do you do that? You get yourself a big name. You already got a nice quarterback in Herbert. So when you look at this, you know, in its totality, it makes sense for the Chargers to try to strike and especially with the Rams down now, and to be able to get, you know, make a splash higher. And to me, that's why, again, I thought that might be a situation with Peyton this year. But you make a great point. They don't want to have to pay off a coach, you know, again, because of money. The other one is Dallas. It's been a generation since they've been relevant. okay, in a Super Bowl, a champion. Jerry Jones getting old, okay? How much longer does he have? You know, again, Stephen Jones is supposed to be the heir apparent there. Supposedly Stephen Jones and Peyton have a really good relationship. Is that a possibility here now when you listen to Rossini and, of course, the ducks in a row type situation?
With the Rams and Chargers also, it's crazy. Those are the two teams in the league that have to do silent counts at home.
Right.
They don't really have real fans.
True.
Like,
it's true.
It's sad. I mean, go back. If you watch the Rams-Niners game this year, goodness me, it was like 80%.
San Francisco.
Yes. They make jokes. They're like, there's like one Chargers fan in L.A.
Right.
There's a few more Rams fans in L.A. You also didn't put out in this whole thing was USC. Like Caleb Williams is starting to pull in a lot of those guys.
That's a great point, yeah.
They're all fighting for that dollar. It makes more sense to me that I think McVay is starting to wear down pretty hard here.
Right.
It makes more sense that he might that maybe Sean can wait out and get the Rams job. I think Chargers job, it makes more sense. I just don't think that the owner wants to do it.
Right.
You know?
Now the Rams do have the money to pay him the type of money he wants.
Right. I don't think the Chargers is a smart. Chargers seems like a slam dunk to you and I and to most people.
Right.
It's just I don't know if that owner's willing to pay because it's not out there like what these coaches make. But from my understanding, talking to numerous people, Sean was making like 15 to 16 million a year with the Saints. I don't know what was out there in the public, but they don't have to say.
Well, they were saying 9 to 10 is what was out in the public, right?
And I'm hearing more like Bill Belichick's making like 20 million, you know. But yeah, no, Sean is making. They don't have to disclose that because they don't want a feeding frenzy. Sure. But from everything I've talked to numerous people. Sean's making made 15 to 16
and had
million.
total control.
Total control. So if he's making 16 with the Saints. And the Saints are one of the small market teams. I mean, Denver is a blue blood franchise, and you got Walton money. They brought in a field. Okay, get this. I don't know if you saw this. They were having field problems at Denver Stadium. They needed to bring in new grass. They brought it in for one game, $400,000. They had to throw the turf out after the game. That shows he's trying to show the players around the NFL, I care about y'all. The coaches, hey, I'll put the money up there. So the Waltons are throwing it out there. We're ready to win right now.
And they want to make a splash. And then they've invested in Russell Wilson. It seems like the line.
That was before they got
I understand,
there.
but it's there. It's their deal now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah, and they're stuck with him.
It's in their Easter basket now.
Yeah,
so
they're stuck with him. So they got to make the best of it.
To me, again, like I said before, it doesn't matter whether it's this year or next year. You'd like to see it this year. The Rams don't have the draft capital, okay, even next year, because again, they've basically again just traded away their first round picks. A lot of other teams will have the draft capital that the Saints are looking for. It'll be interesting to see if it happens this year. If it does, it's got to happen within the next week or so, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a Saints fan, you want them to go to Houston because they got the 2 and the 12.
Right.
And it makes sense. They take the 2, they get their quarterback.
Plus, they got 33 in the second round. It's at the top of the second round.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got the picks.
They got the picks. It makes too much sense for me that D'Amico would be there. But hey, you know what? D'Amico, this might be his only shot. You know, for a while. So go with the Walton money.
Let's talk Saints personnel. You mentioned Andres Pete a little bit earlier. I think he'll be a cap casualty. I think that again, we were spoiled by Breeze and his ability to do the line calls, getting the ball out quickly, knowing where he needed to go with the ball, making the changes again at the line of scrimmage, getting out of bad plays. I think that offensive line needs a redo at this point. I think they're picking up Ruiz's 5th-year option here. McCoy is a mainstay. Ramchek's been often injured now. You know, he's got to take those veteran days off. You look at Hurst, to me, again, he's more suited to be the utility guy than moving him inside. And you got Penning now with 2 surgeries, one on each foot, again, going into next year. To me, that needs to be a priority, as well as the defensive line, especially the interior of the defensive line. And look, they got a lot of free agents on the defensive line. They got to figure that out as well. And then, of course, the big one is quarterback, and you need a big running back, and maybe a second running back, because Kamara may be suspended at the beginning of next year. So you got some issues on that team where you have to be able to fill some spots. You got some draft picks. You don't have a lot of money for free agency. How do they refill this roster?
Gave me a lot to digest there. Fresh in my mind, Cam Jordan was at the Pelicans game last year. I mean, is this the end of the road for him?
Right.
I mean,
Only if he wants it, right?
Yeah, no, they're not going to run him out. I think he had a productive season.
To me, still the best defensive lineman on the.
Well, I mean, when you put him up against Marcus Davenport,
right, exactly.
Peyton Turner,
right.
yeah. Sean made a good point. Sean Fazan, I work with. Who else is going to want Marcus Davenport,
right.
by the way? You could maybe get him back on the cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's clamoring for Marcus Davenport. Peyton Turner, you're stuck with right now.
Right.
That was looking to be a bad draft pick.
What about Onyemata?
You might have to bring him back.
I think you need to.
Yeah,
Right.
You need some kind of push on that line
Right.
because you know what? I think you're looking pretty strong in linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
I think
right.
you have three
right.
between Pete Warner, Caden Ellis,
right.
and Demario Davies.
Right. Now Ellis is a unrestricted free agent. So the Sportsman had him at like 2 years, $10 million. Okay. Like $5 million apiece.
Man, you put a lot of time and effort in Caden Ellis. It'd be a bummer to lose him.
It really would.
That's what happened with Trey Hendrickson, though.
Exactly.
You put a lot of time and effort.
Well,
in
they made a choice. They went with Davenport and Turner over Hendrickson, which was a total mistake.
Yeah. But so you still got, and then a DB, you got Alontae Taylor, you got Paulson Adebo, and you got Marshawn Lattimore. I will say this. Tyrann Mathieu kind of turned it on at the end of the season.
No, he did.
I have no problem bringing him back and seeing what he's got.
I just see him in a different role, though, more of a rover type role, a playmaker type. Instead of, again, look, he had more tackles this year than he had in his career because they had him up on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And again, early in the season, he was making business decisions. Late in the season, he knew how to make those tackles. I'm with you. But you bring Marcus May back? He's another guy that is facing suspension.
Yeah, Marcus May, I didn't think he had the strongest season. Right. That's one that's concerning. And P.J. Williams just never stops, so he just keeps, you know.
Well, he's a utility guy. You got to keep him. It goes back to the Gardner Johnson situation. How did you not see his ability to play the safety position when you're going out there and you're almost it's a revolving door of safeties with the Saints?
Yeah, it's tough being a Saints fan watching these playoff games. Watching CJ,
it really is.
I know that he was a problem in the locker room. He was calling out training staff, but that's one that hurts. I mean,
if Peyton's here, they don't get rid of him. I mean, I really believe that.
He can control those guys.
Right.
Well, though I say he can control them in the locker room, but I mean, Michael Thomas was really tough to control.
Right.
We've gone through a lot of things. I think that's the biggest.
Right.
I don't know who's going to want this guy. Are they just going to probably dump him since they restructured his
It would be
contract?
nice to get a pick for him, but they know what team is going to give you a pick when you know that they're cutting him and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I mean, nobody.
He's injury prone. He could be a problem in the locker room. We talked about CJ GJ. He sucker punched him.
Right.
When he does play, he's good, but he never played.
Right.
I mean, he played 3 games in the last 2 years.
That's right.
10 games. 3 games in the last 2 years. 10 games in 3 seasons.
And he's 30.
Yeah, he loves talking on social media and all that stuff and talking trash. Taking shots at the media like he did during training camp last year. But you got to back it up, and his body's not backing it up anymore. That's a big one. I think you move on from him because you can just have Rashid Shaheed.
Right.
You got Olave, and then I guess Marcus Callaway.
Do you bring Landry back?
I think
because they're going to need veteran wide receivers. There's no doubt about it. That's another area where they need an
There was a reason why Jarvis Landry was out there that
Right.
long. I mean, he was a strong receiver back in the day. I guess if you can get him back on the cheap again, go with it.
He got $3 million last year.
I mean, Traquan Smith, he didn't do much. Marquez didn't have a strong season. You could probably get him back on the cheap. But you're riding with Olave and Shaheed. And Juwan Johnson has stepped up, I thought, really well this year.
The good thing is he's restricted, so you got right of first refusal there.
Taysom will definitely be back in all his roles.
But in what role? Will he be more of a quarterback or more of a jack of all trades, depending on who you bring in as a quarterback?
That you said it right there. What are they going to do? Are they going to wait for Derek Carr to just get cut by the Raiders? Are they going to jump in on Derek Carr? Jimmy G is going to be gone after this season. It looks like they're going to ride with Brock Purdy. I would not want to mess with Trey Lance.
Right.
Was not impressed with him before he got hurt. There's a few guys out there. I mean, Ryan Tannehill with the Titans is another one. None of those names blow my socks off there. Derek Carr made a lot of mistakes in Oakland, but if you can get him for a good price, roll with it.
You know, when you look at this as we ready to wrap up Saints and head to our break, as you look around at the Final Four now, as you look the last week again at the final 8 that were out there, one of the differences between the Saints now and those teams are the Saints have been giving or trading away their mid-round picks. And you look across the board at those teams, and you look at, again, where those players that are making a difference for them, a lot of that, it comes from the meat of the draft, that second, third day where you're getting, second round, third round, fourth round picks. And the Saints have been using those picks to be able to move up to get one particular player, and it's hurt them. They've got to get back to, again, being able to get a full draft and not relying on maybe a top-heavy draft and undrafted free agents, because it's killing their depth. You saw it this year with, again, the offensive line, the defensive line, with the wide receiver position. I mean, again, if you don't find Shaheed, where are you? Okay, at that point. So there's got to be a change here now, especially with, again, not this quest for this Super Bowl, to start building this roster and doing it the right way through the draft.
Yeah. If you're a Saints fan, do you have one hope? Can they hit on a quarterback ever?
Ever.
I mean,
it's Archie Manning. That's it. Think about it.
Garrett Grayson came in from Colorado State in the third round.
Right.
We were all loving life with him.
Right. I mean, look at the history, though. Archie Manning, Dave Wilson. Okay. All right.
Wow.
Okay.
That was back when I was
right.
I was like 6, 7, 8 years old.
So, I mean, again, other than that, name the quarterbacks that they've drafted that have been NFL type quarterbacks. Everyone that they've either traded for, or again, it's been a free agent for the most part.
There are so many quarterbacks out there, and man, I can look at these mock drafts. I mean, Will Levis is boom or bust.
Right.
If you're a Saints fan, I'm sorry, I don't want any part of him. Like, somebody else can have him. Okay, that's one. Anthony Richardson, I've seen him play.
Come on.
That's amazing. Those four guys. I will say this. Third, fourth round.
Right.
Is Stetson Bennett still around?
I'm with you.
Third or fourth round.
I'm with you. Why not? He's won everywhere.
He's a winner.
And he looks like Breeze.
Now, if you draft Stetson Bennett, you're going to have to bring back Andy Dalton,
absolutely.
probably.
No, you have to.
But
you end up picking up two quarterbacks, one early and one in the mid rounds. Look, they need it, and they need to be able to cultivate a quarterback going forward. But I'm with you. The one thing you don't want to be, though, is chasing quarterbacks in the draft for the next 4 or 5 years because you can't find one.
Yeah, no. And, I mean, the thing with the Saints, though, is how many O-line and D-linemen are you going to draft in the first round?
Right.
I mean, some of them have hit, some of them hadn't.
No, they haven't.
But I guess we still have to wait on what Coach Payton is going to figure out, because whatever that compensation is, then maybe you can move up. You can take your first-round pick if it's the Broncos pick, which would be at the end of the first round. You could take that one. You could take the Saints' second-round pick, and maybe you can move all the way up into the top 10. And try to get your shot at C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. I don't like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson.
See how it goes. Again, a lot of work to do for the Saints, and in a bad division, but still a lot of work for them to do. And a lot of that is predicated on what Peyton will do this year in terms of the draft, no doubt about it. Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports is our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher, watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll hear from our underwriters. We'll come back. We'll talk Pels. We'll talk Tulane LSU football. We'll touch on college basketball as well. All that coming up here on Inside New Orleans Sports. Stay tuned.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Experiencing rough weather with a bad roof can be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be.
Suburban Roofing, because when it comes to roofing, there is a difference.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports is with us. Gone, before we go any further, why don't you tell us about the great programming at Fox 8? You're involved in a new betting show. I see your blog's back. Tell us all about it.
Oh, blog never went anywhere. I got
a little hiatus, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm hot and cold. During football season, I can't do it as much. But yeah, right now we're in the off season, but that still means an hour and a half of programming a week. Tuesday nights overtime at 10:35, where the guys and the girls and Madeline Adams, we talk about what's going on in the sports world. Thursday night, tonight we got Final Bet. We got Jim Derry on from bet.nola.com. We're going to break down the NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game. We disagreed on both of them, which is great talk, because I'm a big Joe Burrow guy, and I'm going to ride with him forever. And then Sunday night on Final Play, we wrap it all up at 10:30. I have the blog, Football Food. I went to Avenue Pub the other day. Man, their food is really good, because it's the guy. Part of the ownership is the Blue Oak Barbecue guys, which is one of my favorite.
Right.
So they got in with that. They got Steve Jeffcoat, who owns the Rambler on Frenchman. They're all together. They serve food 11 o'clock at night. It's awesome. I think I'm gonna go back another time very soon. But then, and then also, it's amazing how many people talk about this. And I got Garland on the Avenue, where I'm jogging. A lot of those I'm usually jogging, and I'll just stop. I get things in my head, and I want to talk about them. So I actually get more people talking about Garland Avenue than talk about my work at Fox 8. So I'm obsessed with sports. When I'm jogging, I'm listening to podcasts nonstop. I'm listening to LSU podcasts, Saints, national stuff, NBA, NFL. So I'm like 24/7 sports.
As we all are, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. That's my whole being.
There you go. Pels are 26-23. They're still fourth in the West. They're 8 games back now from Denver. They've lost 6 straight. 11 of their last 14. They're 2-8 in their last 10. January will be the first losing month of the season. Brandon Ingram returned last night against Minnesota in the loss, 13 points in 26 minutes. We're starting to see now losing Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson for long stretches has now forced the bench players now to have to take on more minutes, take on more responsibility. They can be sustained for a short period of time, but it can't be sustained for the length of time that we've seen. Brandon Ingram out 2 months to a day. It looks like, again, Zion's going to be out at least a month before.
That's what I was saying. If you're optimistic.
At least a month, right?
Yeah, a month more.
And maybe they might not even bring him back till after the All-Star break instead of rushing him back, right? So that exposes weaknesses on your second team, on your backups. And then, of course, they try to do too much, because, again, they're in more prominent roles. One of the big things we're seeing right now is averaging 17 turnovers a game, which has been a killer for this team. And then, of course, they could hang their hat defensively on what they would be able to do, but because of the added minutes, we're seeing breakdowns on the defensive side of the ball, on top of still the inability to knock down the outside shot at times, okay? So when you look at this team, they desperately need their 2 stars back. The issue is, as I mentioned, 8 games back. But when you look at the seedings right now, from 4 to 9 is where, again, things are starting to tighten up. Minnesota and Golden State are 8 and 9. They're both 500. They're 2.5 games out of 4th place. So again, the cushion that the Pels had early, even though they're in 4th place, has shrunk now because of, again, this 11 of the last 14 losses.
Yeah, and talking about the injuries, I explain to people all the time that the difference between NBA and NFL. NFL is a 17-game regular season. Players will play if they're at 70%, 60%. In the NBA, that just isn't the case anymore.
Right.
Okay, they're only playing Brandon Ingram when he's close to 100%. They're only going to play Zion when he's not even close, 100%. The seasons are way too long in the NBA, and then you got the playoffs. So, like, when people are like, when did they bring in Zion back? They're not bringing him back until he's 100%. They've been burned way too much on Zion. I know Brandon was dealing with a toe ailment, and they're like, 2 months, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's just the way it's going to be. If Brandon still has some pain, they're not going to play him.
And plus, he doesn't play unless he's 100% as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little frustration in the organization by that. Look, Christian Clark comes out with that article because, again, somebody's dropping information to him about the frustration within the organization.
Yeah, it didn't help his case that he pointed out Desmond Bain for the Grizzlies had a more severe toe injury, and Bain was back 2 weeks before Brandon was back. So it was trying to Brandon's wasn't as serious as Desmond Bain. So that was an article that was kind of a little damning toward Brandon Ingram's recovery. But there's just the way. I mean, I know we're an NFL town.
Yeah.
And these guys, they try to patch them up and get them out there. That's not how the NBA works. Look what's
especially now today.
Look what's going on with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, they bench all. I mean, both times they came here.
Oh yeah.
They had no Steph Curry, no Klay Thompson, no Draymond Green.
One of them was just where again they just sat everybody just for rest.
Yeah.
On a back-to-back.
That's just the way it goes. And you know who this hurts the most than anybody is the fans.
Yeah.
I've tried. I know there was a story that was well publicized on ESPN. This kid flew 4,400 miles to see Butler for the Heat.
Right.
He gets to the game, and they're like, "Oh, he's not playing." And the kid's like losing it. He's like, "I can't believe it." Right. Well, thank Jimmy Butler. After the game, they give autograph balls and that. I've told Pelicans fans, if you got to wait till Willie Green talks. So Willie Green talks on game days at 5:15.
Yep.
That's when you get the final update. I know there's a horrible way to go, to figure this out. You have to wait until 5 o'clock. And that's when you just have to decide to go to games. You can't. It's tough if you're a season ticket holder. You're getting burned all the time on these games because these guys are pulling out the last minute. But at least you knew early yesterday that Brandon Ingram was going to be back. You know, you almost have to wait till 2 hours of tip to make sure. As a fan, you want to get your money's worth in these games, and you're getting kind of hosed on some of these times because they're pulling some of these guys out.
Right.
That's just the way it is. If you want to see the guys, I suggest you wait till about 5:15, then you can go on SeatGeek and you'll probably pull some tickets in.
Yeah, secondary market's been pretty good for the fans as well. My concern, we talked about it before we came on the program today, is C.J. McCollum, Valanciunas playing so many minutes early in this season now to try to offset the loss of Brandon Ingram and also Zion, that when you get on the other side of the All-Star break, when you're going down the stretch here, will they have the ability to rest them a little bit more? Because again, it's taken a toll on them.
Yeah, it's really worrisome that Jonas Valanciunas has played in all 49 games this year. That's kind of scary.
He's tough as nails, man.
Yeah, and you know what? I talk about players not always playing 100%. I don't know if Jonas might be playing at like 80% some of these games, but he's rolling out there. CJ's played in 40.
He's a throwback.
Yeah, CJ's played in 44 of the 49 games this season, so that one you're a little worried about. I think once you can get Zion back, get them. You hope Zion's back sometime in February.
But you hope they can stay healthy. That's the other thing. You say take a run, make a run. When they get back, they'll make a run. Can they both stay healthy for the after the All-Star break through the playoffs? That's the question. Look, if this was the little bump in the road for you with, again, the injuries and you had to deal with it pre-All-Star break, it is what it is. Because you can make up the ground if they're healthy. But they got to be healthy. And look, Najee Marshall going out for a couple games hurt them. There are certain players on this team, you need their juice. He's one of them.
Yeah, and you also got to remember, Eric, the playoffs start April 15th.
Right.
If you want to make a long run, you're going another 10 weeks.
Right, it's June.
NBA season is long. Right. It is so long. You got to put all this into play. So I understand what the Pelicans are doing right now, but you're right. Are they going to get to the point where they run out of time? When they get Zion back, I guess they're just sitting there praying every day that this is it. Like, all of our guys are back healthy because there are some players on the team you can rely on that are probably not getting injured. Trey Murphy, Herb Jones just went through a streak where he was hurt, but now he's back. Jackson Hayes is good for a pinch. So is Willie Hernan-Gomez. I don't know if you want to rely on those guys every single night. No. Some other guys are going to have to step up. I mentioned that Jonas hasn't missed a game this year. I was shocked. You and I were talking pre-show. Devontae Graham hadn't missed a game this season, and he's one of the guys that we've been talking about dumping for a year.
Right, and again, may have to. Again, look, he played well in spurts. He's there for his offense, and he just hasn't really produced. I said the other day, he's stealing minutes from Kyra Lewis right now. Okay, those are minutes that maybe that kid should be having on the floor, but it is what it is. look, I don't think they envision losing 11 of the last 14.
No.
I think they envision maybe trying to be right around 500, again, with the losses. But again, it's starting to take its toll because, look, teams can game plan now. These backups that now are playing more prominent roles, coaches are getting a chance to see them, what they like to do, their tendencies, and guys are getting game plan for now, and it's a little bit more difficult. So hopefully they can continue to tread water. Brandon coming back will be a big help because it's another big-time player on the roster. But I don't know if we'll see Zion until after the All-Star break.
Yeah, who knew that the Wizards game on Saturday meant so much? But
Right.
they got a win against the Wizards.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the end.
No, but
end of all.
you got this funk.
You got to end the losing streak.
Right.
This is getting a little much.
No, it
Okay,
is.
and the Wizards, I thought they were going to. I mean, at halftime last night, I mean, they were playing red hot in the first half. They were up 8 at the break, and then the Timberwolves came out gangbusters.
Right, but there's also the turnovers. I mean, you can't keep turning the ball over. You're giving other teams extra possessions, and it is really killing them right now. Let's just shift gears to the college game. First of all, great news over the weekend as Tulane celebrated their Cotton Bowl victory. Coming out that Willie Fritz wants to stay at Tulane for the rest of his career. Would like to get a contract again through 2030. I got to believe they're going to do that. In one of the interviews, he talked about, again, that he's going to be out there fundraising this week. They want to get that indoor practice facility built. They want to be able to get upgrade those facilities. As I said this week on the radio show, a rising wave instead of tide lifts all boats when it comes to the entire athletic department. But this is the catalyst now with Tulane, again, with their great season. And things really look good. Obviously you got Pratt coming back, Sincere Haynesworth coming back. They got some issues, obviously, on the defense with losing so many players. And, of course, now 2 new coordinators. When you talk about Lance Guidry coming over from Marshall to be the defensive coordinator, and, of course, Nagel being moved up from the tight end coach to the offensive coordinatorship.
Yeah. The key is, I think, going forward, is getting an indoor facility.
Right, me too.
The problem is,
where do you put it?
The only thing I've come up with, and I told Willie this off camera, we had an interview about a month ago, and Willie, poker face, didn't respond to it at all. My only suggestion was knock down the Wilson Center.
Right. I think that's what they're going to do.
But he wouldn't go with me on there. I don't know if I had an original thought because no one else told me this, but my thought was, so you knock down the Wilson Center, and they're like, wait a second, the baseball team has their locker rooms in there. And I'm like, well, you know what? They have a road that goes behind. You block that road off, you build a locker room behind on that road for the baseball team right next to the hit shack.
Yes.
So you take the Wilson Center and you can just do the bubble along, or not bubble, maybe just indoor facility. You run it all the way to the back, almost to the fence, to the back of the field.
Right.
And then you start dispersing people all over a campus there. That has to happen. It is embarrassing that they have to take a bus to the Superdome, to the Saints indoor facility. I mean, this is an arms race, and they're losing the arms race right now. I mean, the Glazers have put up a lot of money.
Right.
They're looking. One of the Glazers, like Avram Glazer, who gives a lot of money, they're looking to sell Manchester United.
Yes.
They might sell them for like $6 or $7 billion.
Wow.
Maybe kick a little of that money back to the Wave.
Right,
I mean, so.
Well, the Fear the Wave collective is working, from what we understand. A lot of
got Michael Pratt back.
Right.
Because
Okay.
there was a lot of chatter. I mean, the Florida Gators were looking for
Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, they were looking for a quarterback, and that collective stepped up. I will say this, with Willie. Sometimes they like to paint the media in a bad light. Well, I'm telling you this, if Tulane fans are watching, so the media helped you with this one, because you know what? I really still think that Willie was going to take the Georgia Tech job. He completely was not thrilled that it got out that he interviewed for Georgia Tech. His game plan was interview Georgia Tech, coach the week of the AAC championship game, they win it, Sunday, flies out, takes the Atlanta to take Georgia Tech job. Well, guess what happened? From doing a lot of digging, Georgia Tech had an interim coach. There was somebody in the facility that caught wind that Willie was a front runner. He leaked it out to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Hey, Willie's a front runner. He leaks it out the Sunday before the AAC championship game. Puts Willie in a horrible situation. Well, guess what? We have to ask him about it.
Right,
okay?
of course.
We're all of a sudden the bad guys. This came from Atlanta, but we got to ask him. We asked Willie 3 times in a Sunday presser, before the AAC championship game if he was going to take the job. He finally, toward the beginning of that week, was like, you know what, I'm done with this.
Right.
I'm poisoning the water with my team.
Right.
So he said, I'm staying. So you can thank the media part for this.
Right.
You can thank the leak because you know what?
Right.
The Georgia Tech interim coach got the gig.
Yes.
So the leak in Georgia Tech helped his guy out.
Right.
It also kept Tulane in the mix because if it would have not got leaked out to the media and we didn't keep asking, Willie would have been gone.
Right, no doubt. Both Tulane and LSU did very, very well in the portal. LSU again was rated from the top team in the portal to the third best. Tulane had another great year in the portal as well. Talk a bit about LSU and how they've remade this roster even more in now going into Kelly's second year.
One of the biggest problems with LSU this year was special teams. And punt returner. I mean, the Florida State game was an absolute disaster.
Yes.
Malik Neighbors got put in a bad situation. That is rectified. I've seen Aaron Anderson since his freshman year at Edna Carr. The kid was a game breaker at Edna Carr. He had one season at Alabama, was an injury-prone season. He's back to 100%. I think Aaron Anderson is going to fill a need right away. I think Aaron Anderson starts a receiver right away. He starts a punt returner, could start a kick returner right away. He is lightning in a bottle. So that was a big one. On defense, they picked up a lot of guys that are going to start right away at cornerback. Denver Harris is going to start right away at cornerback. Now on the other side is a Deuce Chestnut who came out of Syracuse. Is a J.K. Johnson who came out of Ohio State. On the other side, that's going to be, I mean, you're picking up guys right there. Omar Spates, they had a major need at linebacker, and now you have Omar Spates in the middle, which means you don't have to put your best player probably on the entire team. I think Harold Perkins may be the best player on the entire team.
He could be one of the best players in college football.
So now you let Harold Perkins, don't make him just react. Just like a heat-seeking missile, like see attack. Put him more on the edge, the jack roll.
100% agree.
Yeah, so you keep in the middle, you keep Greg Penn III, you keep Omar Spates, you keep the Weeks brothers in the middle. So I thought that was a big pickup having Omar Spates there, and you got the back end with the cornerback situation. Offensive line is something that is really worrisome with LSU. They only have 6 guys that they can really lean on that had starting experience. They have 2 other guys. They only have like 8 offensive linemen going into camp.
But they got another round of transfer portal and
May.
National Signing Day next week, right?
Yeah, but I don't think there's no offensive linemen.
Right.
And the other problem was the 4 offensive linemen they signed out of high school, none of them are early enrollees. Zalen's Hurd out of Neville is not getting there till the summer.
Okay.
That was the big key with Will Campbell.
It really was.
Will Campbell out of Neville last year got there in the spring, and he worked his way in because Emory Jones, who's on the right tackle side out of Catholic, he didn't come till the summer. It took him a few games to steal that right tackle job. So you can see the difference between early enrolling and getting in there. The offensive line, now the starting 5 looks very strong.
Yes.
I think you're set at running back now that John Emery Jr. is coming back. You got Noah Kane in that role, Armani Goodwin. So you got a lot of guys. Receiver looking strong. This is going to be a preseason top 10 team.
I agree.
Okay, I know people were freaking out about Walker Howard leaving. So if you told me beforehand, you're going to get Jaden Daniels back for another year, you got Garrett Nussmeier, and you lose Walker Howard, I'm like, sign him up, okay? Because week 1, they play Florida State in Orlando on a Sunday night Labor Day weekend. That's going to be a top 10 matchup. They're looking for revenge after losing them last season. That game's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Ricky Collins coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Another 5-star coming in next year.
Colin Hurley, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So quarterback is not an issue. I think it was the fact that, again, it was a Louisiana kid, 5-star. A lot was thought of him. And of course, what are your thoughts about him going to Ole Miss? I mean, a lot of people thought TCU was the destination.
I definitely, I got some intel that it was the favorite, and then all of a sudden he went and hung out with the self-proclaimed transfer portal king. Though if you look at the 24/7 sports rankings, LSU is actually number 1 in the transfer portal this year. Man, he's not going to start this year. No. But they say at least he's going to be in the fight. He was not going to be in the fight at LSU. He was guaranteed 3rd string, which is usually scout team quarterback.
And you mentioned this on one of your programs, why scout team and why he moved on because of being on the scout team.
Yeah, no, he's not going to get that shot. He thinks he has a shot. I think Jackson Dart might be out of there after the spring. So you're only going up against Spencer Sanders, who has a lot of accuracy issues. There's a reason Spencer Sanders, who's a 4-year starter, is out at Oklahoma State. He wanted something new. I was a little surprised by Walker Howard because I mean, he's an LSU guy through and through. But in this new age of transfer portal, NIL, everything's off the table.
And if you're on the scout team, basically, again, you're the quarterback, that is emulating the quarterback of the opponent of that week. So you're not even running the offense, and that's the big issue. Let's get to college basketball with just a few minutes left. LSU having a really tough time right now, 12-8, 1-7 in the SEC, getting beat by double figures. They've lost 7 in a row. Tulane, huge win last night at Wichita State in Wichita. Again, they are 13-7, 6-3. They're in fourth place, but they're only 2 games out of first place now. UNO 6-12, 3-4 in seventh place. They're only 2 games out in the loss column out of first place in the Southland, which is led now by Southeastern. That's 11-9, 5-2. Nichols is in second place, 10-9, 5-2 in the conference. And what about Loyola once again? 15th in the nation, 16-3, 11-1 in their conference, and they look to again be challenging for another national championship there. On the women's side, LSU is tearing it up, undefeated right now. Tulane playing fairly well, Loyola playing fairly well, and of course UNO. Your thoughts? Yeah, on college basketball, we've got about a minute and a half or so.
LSU is going to be a rebuilding job with Matt McMahon. It's going to take a lot of time on the men's side. Women's side, LSU, they're going to make a run for the Final Four. That's going to be really exciting to see. Angel Reese is absolutely on fire. Going to Tulane's campus, it's going to take it. I don't think they're going to win it this year. Get into the to the NCAA tournament because they're going to have to go through Houston and all that. But next year, when Houston, Cincinnati, UCF are long gone, I think that's when Ron Hunter, if he can keep all these guys, that'll be something. Talk about the Southland, throw all those records out the window.
Tournament, right?
All that matters is the tournament. If Coach Celeste can get them red hot for the tournament, that's all that matters. Those records, you could throw all those out the window. Yes, you want some cohesion in the regular season with Southeastern and Nichols and UNL, but with the Southland, it doesn't matter. Over Loyola, men's and women's both strong. I know a lot of people at Loyola hate when I bring this up, but sooner or later they got to go D1. I don't know when it's going to happen.
I agree with you.
They're trying to figure out the new president of the school, and maybe after they get the new president, they can figure it out. But
Southland Conference,
they need that would be. They might go Division 2 first, and then move through. They got to do something, man. This program, I think, is ripe for some big movement.
And of course, Division 30 is always again tough when it comes to basketball as well.
Well, Division 3, you can't get scholarship players.
I was talking about Xavier, Dillard, Suno, and of course, again, Division 30.
Oh yeah,
NII.
Yeah, they got some good teams in there, and we talk about Dillard baseball getting through, but yeah. That's a good crew, but Loyola men, I think they can go back to back.
Think about this: lose all their stars, lose their coach, and they got a chance to go back to back.
It's amazing. They do have to do some major improvements to that gym, though. I mean, it's a high school gym they pretty much play in.
It is.
I don't know if you've ever been there.
I have.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go to the old one, too, way back in the day.
Yeah,
no doubt. Garland, thanks so much for being with us as always. Certainly appreciate it. Remember, Garland, check him out tonight on the betting show every Thursday
Final
night,
bet,
right?
Yep.
On Fox 8, of course, all the great programming there. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. So many ways to be able to catch our program now. There's a QR code on your screen. That'll take you right to the WLAE-TV YouTube page or to my website, ericasher.com. Also, remember, again, choose your favorite time slot. Set your DVR for Inside New Orleans Sports. Also, again, catch me on the radio 4 to 6 weekdays, 106.1 FM, Nash Icon. Also, live on the iHeart app, also the TuneIn app. Also, you can check us out on at ericasher.com, also the Nash Icon website. And don't forget about Anchor is our home base for our podcast. Search Inside New Orleans Show with Eric Asher. You'll find it we're on all podcasting platforms. Hey, special thanks to our underwriters who make this show possible. Please, again, support each and every one of those underwriters. We appreciate each and every one of them. And then, of course, the WLE production staff, which do a fantastic job here. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Lil Grafia, Alex Chacon, and, of course, our director, William Hill. Thanks so much for watching another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks to Garland Gillen. I'm Eric Asher. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.